today the kind of house call that a former White House physician did not want to make. Dr. Kevin O'Connor, who treated former President Biden for at least 16 years, asserted his Fifth Amendment right today.
Yes, Joe Biden's doctor pled the Fifth Amendment. He didn't want to incriminate himself. I guess that means his only choice was to lie under oath to Congress. Which is okay. They're Democrats. Let's go back to how many senior government officials go up to Capitol Hill and get sworn in and lie under oath. Let's go to Clapper. James Clapper lying about spying on all of us, which the government does, and then they get sworn in on Capitol Hill and they lie to us. You know, Democrats. I don't know why I just had images of Hillary Clinton dancing in my head right there. Why is that? Does that make... Well, a very good Thursday to you and welcome. And I'm going to have to start by apologizing because yesterday we were overtaken by events, OBE. And we did not get to the mailbag yesterday, our traditional hump day practice. Not like in the Clinton household, and now I will get to the mailbag today because I failed terribly in not getting to the mailbag yesterday. Extraordinary stuff. I didn't even see it until this morning, but it turns out that Kamala, she did an interview with a Muslim man who is a Democrat influencer. I assume that he's a genocidal racist because the Democrats really like that today. And the interview never saw the light of day because Kamala Harris was running for the presidency of the United States, and she did so badly in the interview. How badly did she do? She did so badly that no one ever saw a frame of this interview. And she's talking to a Muslim man and talking about how bacon is her favorite spice. Spices, of course, are plant life that grow in the ground. And that would surprise Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I'm quite sure. And Kamala, she was being culturally insensitive to the Muslim man. He's like, well, I don't eat pork, because I'm a jihadi and everything. And we try not to eat the pig. We just kill the Jews. That's... the Democrat Party, firebombing, middle of the night, things like that. It's a violent party. It is. But we have the guy who conducted the interview, then went and did an interview with Forbes, which is, or used to be a magazine, and now they do these online interviews with people. And it's quite extraordinary what has been revealed about this failed, tragically horrible Kamala Harris interview that they buried, just like in the Soviet Union and communist China and North Korea. It never saw the light of day because the left is in charge. And it's good to be a Democrat, I like to say, because it's true. Because the entire news media, they strip down and lube themselves up and go in to perform an act of journalistic gratification upon you. And if it doesn't go well for you, then it'll never see the light of day. Because, they're like communists. When I say they're like communists, what I mean is, so I want to get to that because that is a thoroughly wacky development, I've got to say. Wah, 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 the Democrat Party. Yeah. The news media is still not reporting it because they're still completely in the tank, even for Kamala Harris. Harris botched interview with Muslim influencer by celebrating bacon as a spice. That's the headline in the New York Post. The Washington Post is not covering the story. The New York Times is not covering the story. But it gets worse than that, actually, for Kamala Harris and for people with, two brain cells to rub together. It's pretty remarkable stuff. I've got that for you. Womp, womp, womp. And just extraordinary. Finally, some of it from Forbes made its way to TikTok, and then the world found out about it. But the Democrat Party is as corrupt as the Soviet Union, and they're violent, very, very violent. Speaking of which, they love MS-13. They've got a network. What's it called, Mike? MS-13 DNC. And they've got a bunch of communists like, Lawrence O'Donnell. He's a communist, right? He declares proudly to be a socialist. And as Vladimir Lenin said, the goal of socialism is communism. And the Democrat Party, most of them are actually not smart enough to understand. They're not intelligent enough. They're not well-educated enough. They're not learned it enough, and they're not aware enough to recognize that they are a cancer on humanity. They're the Democrat Party. And they go around shooting everybody. How many law enforcement have been shot by radical Democrats? Just in the last week, we had the officer of the ICE, Agent Federal, shot in the neck by you see, there's a 12th gunman involved in that one. 11 have been arrested. Have to call in the AC-130s and the helicopter gunships to go after the third guy. He was a Marine Corps reservist at one point, buying AR-15 rifles to, the revolution, to attack federal law enforcement because they're enforcing the law, and the left is anti-law. They'll become authoritarian. Well, they are authoritarian, but give them all the power in the world, and they'll turn this place into a third world beep hole because that's what they do. But the ICE people are out there, and in Omaha, Nebraska, the headline is from the Nebraska Examiner, ICE says it arrested MS-13 kingpin in Omaha. Omaha, that's right in the middle of the country. Is that a border state now, Nebraska? No, it's not. But this is what the Democrat Party is doing to the country, what they have done to the country. Joe Biden did to the country. The Democrats did to the country. Just amazing. MS-13 kingpin. He's on El Salvador's top 100 fugitives list, and he's been arrested by ICE, who the Democrats want to defund, and they're arming up transgender, mentally ill gangs to go shoot them with AR-15 rifles, which they would call combat assault rifles, wouldn't they? And they say they ought to be banned unless the Democrats are using them to, start the revolution. Isn't that amazing stuff? And as I mentioned, there's a blue alert. Keep your blue light on, because the FBI is searching for a 12th one of the attackers. We've arrested 11 already. Notice how I said we rather than they, because I'm on the side of law and order and law enforcement, and the Democrats instead shoot them and defund them because the Democrat Party is a violent criminal enterprise. And if you're a Democrat, we're at 888-630-9625. If you're conservative, we're at 888-630-9625. Democrats, you got to say it more slowly because their brains, not very good brains. But the FBI is searching for a 12th Alvarado, Texas ICE detention center attack suspect. That's an even dozen. This should be the filthy dozen. We'll call them the filthy dozen because Democrat Party. The Democrat Party, they assassinated a CEO of United Healthcare on the sidewalks of New York. They assassinated 2 Israeli embassy officials in Washington, D.C., outside of a Jewish museum, gunned them down and killed them. They've attempted twice to assassinate Donald Trump, shot him once. They're doxing and getting all kinds of personal information on federal law enforcement officers in order to endanger them and their families. Democrats on Capitol Hill are trying to pass legislation that would make it illegal for federal law enforcement to cover their faces because they want to protect themselves and their families from the left-wing radicals who are communists and terrorists and jihadis with their AR-15 rifles, and they're transgender and they're suicidal. And the Democrats, how many suicide attacks by the Democrats in the last few years? More than I can rattle off the top of my head. I have to do more research. Too many. And amazing stuff. So they want to dox. Now, of course, if you're rioting at Columbia University of New York against Israel and you wear masks over your face, the Democrats applaud that as free speech. Maybe the ICE agent should say it's free speech to wear masks and not put their names on their bulletproof vests, their Kevlar armor that they have to wear because their job is so dangerous because of the Democrats and illegal aliens and cartels and gang members. Really, the Democrat Party is the world's deadliest cartel. They're not on our side. They're not on the side of civilization. Wah, wah, wah. Amazing stuff. Yes, sir. They're doxing law enforcement. And you remember those 2 elected state representatives, a state senator and a state rep in Minnesota, were shot in their homes, their front doorways, and their spouses were shot too. Just amazing stuff. And shot by a guy that was appointed to a commission by Democrat Governor Tim Walz. And, a lover of all things Democrats. The media said, oh, he's a Trump supporter. Then they stopped saying that and slinked away in silence because they knew they were lying. That's pretty amazing. So just like the Kamala Harris interview where they covered it up and concealed her many failures in one single interview. Amazing stuff. And I've got to say, the Democrats now, they've got an army of 12, a cell group, the Filthy Dozen, and they're attacking with AR-15 rifles, combat-style assault rifles, and body armor and face masks, attacking an ICE detention facility to break out. It's like Yemen. The Democrat Party is like the Houthis, and they might have to be dealt with like the Houthis one of these days real soon. Amazing stuff. Has the Democrat Party become a full-blown domestic terrorist organization? Gosh, I'm not sure. But there's a lot of evidence to suggest that with all the suicide attacks, the murderous attacks, the organized, orchestrated, violent attacks, armed attacks, the self-immolations, the explosions, the Democrat Party. This is all the Democrat Party in the U.S., and the news media never quite frames it appropriately or properly, do they? Speaking of communists, the Democrats elected in the Democrat mayoral primary in New York City, they elected this guy Mamdani, who is a jihadi and a communist, and he's against capitalism, and billionaires shouldn't exist, and Jews shouldn't exist, and he wants a global intifada. That is a violent armed war against Jewish people on the planet Earth. He wants global intifada. He is, he's just another Democrat, Mamdani. And if you swap the M and the D, he's Mad Manny. And this is great, some of Mamdani's far-left allies, are there any other kind, want to primary Hakeem Jeffries and other New York City Democrats. CNN is a bit distraught about this. Their panties are in a wedge over at CNN, and that's just the men. That's amazing. So Mamdani wants to get rid, and Hakeem Jeffries, who was raised by a virulent anti-Semite, his college professor uncle, right, Professor Leonard Jeffries, and the Democrat Party, they should be wearing armbands. I've been saying this for a long time. I've seen this coming for a long time. I was raised to pay attention to historical trends. My brilliant mother helped me with that, and I've been watching the Democrat Party's trend lines for some time now, and they should be wearing armbands as they goose-step around in their hobnailed boots with rifles and dressed like women. It's sort of like, what was that? There are not a lot of musicals with Nazis, right? Not a lot of musicals. Like The Sound of Music, that's one. And, of course, Mel Brooks, the producers, that's one. And then there's that one, Cabaret, right? Joel Grey. You love that one, don't you? You're a big Joel Grey fan. I'm just kidding. Michael Piercy is not really a big Joel Grey fan, and he's not a big fan of Cabaret. But that's another. And that was about the cross-dressing, tranny Nazi trends in Germany on the lead up to World War II, I think, isn't it? I don't think I've actually watched the movie ever, but that's okay. And then it turns out Mamdani's college articles, he wrote articles in college, show far-left views on Israel and privilege. So anti-capitalist and anti-Semitic. And he's been doing this all the way back to college. And nobody in the New York news media writes about it. Fox News has an article on it today, but the New York Times, they haven't discovered this. The Democrat Party's nominee for mayor of our most populous city, New York City. Aren't they amazing? And Mamdani posted a picture of himself at the, what is it, the Christopher Columbus statue in New York, flipping it off. And he took a picture of his own hand flipping off Christopher Columbus statue, as they're angry with statues. Like the Taliban, they tear down statues, the Democrat Party. And Gavin Newsom, he's a Democrat. He could be a cross-dresser, too. Newsom's office distances from Department of Justice lawsuit over trans athletes in girls' sports. That is to say, men pretending to be women stealing stuff from girls and women who are competitive athletes. And amazing stuff. And then he flip-flopped. He's going back and forth. It's almost like he's, his morality is trans. Amazing stuff. And Russia is ready to assist Tehran in refilling their uranium stockpiles, says Sergei Lavrov, the Soviet and Russian foreign minister. He's a lot like a Democrat in the United States today. Yeah, but why would they have to have their uranium stockpiles refilled? Because I saw in the New York Times that President Trump's strikes didn't accomplish anything. Everything is a lie from these people. And what's the homicide rate in Chicago this year? What does that look like? Gosh, we got that. We got a few things coming up. Kamala Harris, she should never do another interview. She should never appear in public again. She should move someplace. We're at 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. All right, let us go to the telephones. We have a great many ridiculous Democrat things to get to today. I hope they don't shoot a lot of people while we're on the air. Let's go to Rob, calling from Montgomery County, Maryland. Rob, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Chris, good morning. Top of the morning to you, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you for taking the call. You know, these people make me ill, and they're kind of ill themselves. They hate everything. I don't quite get it. I wanted to tell you a story last week when you mentioned the family that moved to Russia from Texas.
Yeah.
And I have a lady friend that just literally last week went back to Israel. She lives in Haifa, and she was born in Moldova and went to the University of Moscow, and she explained everything there is for anyone to know about what real communism is and what the life is like. I think that family's in for a real big shock. And the American people, if they're going to choose someone like this idiot in New York to be the mayor, I don't think the American people are quite ready for this yet.
Well, New Yorkers are, they're very edgy, they're trendy. They set the trends. They make the trends for the rest of the country and the Democrat Party. They're a little tentative about the communists. He's basically a Nazi when it comes to the Jewish people. He wants a global armed war against Jewish people wherever you may find them. And it's not really a big deal in the media, is it?
No, they ignore it all. Like you said, they have the power to ignore, and that's pretty powerful nowadays.
Yeah, we were talking about that,
really
Mike.
It's shameful.
Well, they are shameless. They don't understand the concept of shame. Otherwise, they would wallow in shame day and night. But yeah, the most insidious power the media has is the power to ignore. And they ignore a lot when it comes to the Democrats. And this Kamala Harris interview that never saw the light of day, that's a golden example. Thanks, Rob. I've been asking important questions lately, like whether if you're a registered Democrat, you should be allowed to own a firearm. And clearly the answer is no. And should registered Democrats be allowed by the Transportation Safety Administration, TSA, to fly commercial airliners, not to pilot them? Certainly we can't have that. They'd see a tall building and then do a Mamdani on us. Is an anti-American, anti-capitalist, is a communist. Billionaires shouldn't exist. He just complains about capitalism and about Jews and wants global war based on race, ethnicity, the Jewish people. And he won the Democratic primary for the mayor's race in New York. And the Democrat always wins that election, the mayoral election in New York. I'm not sure when the last, maybe Rudy Giuliani might have been the last Republican mayor of New York. But let's get to Kamala Harris. This story is quite amazing, I've got to say. And yesterday, the story came out. The headline in the New York Post, and the Washington Post is not reporting it. CNN will not report it or talk about it because they're not news organizations. They're Democrat Party fraud groups. They pretend to be something they're not, and that is journalistic organizations. The headline in the New York Post, which you remember we had like John Brennan. Oh, you got an update on that communist, too. He literally voted for the Communist Party candidate for the presidency of the United States. Gus Hall was the Communist Party candidate that John Brennan voted for, and then Barack Obama, who was mentored by a member of the Communist Party as a teenager, Frank Marshall Davis, refers to him in his book as Frank over and over again. Just Frank. He was covering it up because he wanted to become president and fundamentally transform the United States of America from the greatest country in the world to a pustule on a cesspool of the Democrat left wing of the United States. But never mind that. Let me get back to I got a little bit of an update on Brennan, who should be in a penitentiary dragging a tin cup back and forth across the bars and calling the prison guards screws. That's call them screws. All right, now here's the New York Post. Kamala Harris's interview on TikTok's Subway Takes was so bizarre, she and host agreed to delete it. This is one of those propaganda Soviet style, and all these lefties, they're basically Soviet style communists, Chinese, North Korean style communists. I'm not even exaggerating at this point. Now there's a left wing radical named Kareem Rama. Kareem Rama, R-A-H-M-A. Kareem Rama, I guess you say hosts something that they call Subway Takes. And he goes on to New York City subway trains and sits there with an iPhone developed by the patriarchy and capitalism. And he asks people stupid questions on a subway train, and it's New York, so they give stupid answers, right? And this is considered to be a form of media, such a highfalutin form of media that the presidential campaign of the Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris, said, let's do an interview with Kareem Rama. It'll be great. He's an influencer. That's a job title now, influencer, right? Every street prostitute is an influencer in one fashion or another. But Kamala Harris' interview that she did with Subway Takes with Kareem Rama, she sat down and the Democratic Party and the Harris campaign, they set up the interview, and ahead of time they agreed that he wanted to talk, because he's an Islamist, and he wanted to talk about Gaza to Kamala Harris. And the Harris camp and the DNC said, no. No talking about the news, no talking about Gaza, nothing uncomfortable, just a fluff job, just a tongue bath. That's what we signed up for. And I said, no, I need to talk about Gaza. They said, no, you can't talk about Gaza. Said, the DNC and the Kamala Harris campaign came back and they said what she wants to talk about and what we're going to talk about and what the headline from this interview, we're going to agree ahead of time what we're going to talk about, what the questions will be, what the topics will be, and what the headline will be, because communists do that and the Democrat Party does that. What we want the headline to be is Kamala Harris talking about people taking off their shoes on airplanes, because that's an issue facing the nation. The nation is Burkina Faso, not the United States. But that's what they agreed to. And they said, we'll sit down and do this interview with you, a video interview. But the headline is going to be people taking off their shoes on airplanes. And he said, what about Gaza? No Gaza. And then she screwed that up. So here's the story from the New York Post. Kamala Harris gave an interview before the presidential election that was so confusing and weird that she and the host mutually agreed not to air it. A social media personality recently revealed, and nobody even noticed it when the media personality revealed it recently, and the news media doesn't cover this because they're not in the news business. The former Democratic presidential candidate's appearance on Subway Takes, a popular online series hosted by Kareem Rama, where guests admit their favorite hot take, which is a completely meaningless phrase, was filmed in summer of 2024, last year, leading up to the election, but never saw the light of day, the presenters said. Now, I've got to share a couple of items with you because it turns out Forbes, the magazine with an online presence, they did an interview with Kareem Rama, and they did this, weeks ago, and nobody paid any attention to it on the Forbes website. But here is Kareem Rama talking to a Forbes reporter, Stephen Bertoni, in an interview posted on TikTok. And it was posted on TikTok on Monday. It wasn't noticed until Wednesday. The interview was so painful that Rama feared that if it aired, he would be blamed for Harris losing the 2024 presidential election, he told the Forbes reporter Bertoni. And that's good enough, right? Because, well, I don't want to be blamed for this. Is so tragic that we're just going to pull the interview. It'll never see the light of day. Her take was that bad, Bertoni said. It was really, really bad. It didn't make any sense. He said Rama offered the former vice president's take with an almost concerned look on his face. And it's amazing. She's talking to this Muslim guy, and she starts talking about bacon being her favorite spice. Bacon is not a spice, it's a meat, and it's delicious. And I feel badly for Muslims. I've got a great story cooking up 2 pounds of bacon in Dhahran, Saudi Arabia. Maybe I'll tell that story if I have time. It attracted every Muslim in the building. Came around, what is that delicious smell? It's like, sorry, pal, that's bacon. We were breaking the law. Harris's team had told producers that Kamala Harris's hot take would be taking a stand against removing one's shoes on airplanes, Rama said. But when the interview started, Harris instead surprised Rama with a different hot take, and she started talking about how bacon is a spice. It's good to be a Democrat, isn't it? So here's a little bit of Rama talking to the Forbes magazine reporter, and this was weeks ago. Well, I guess it was posted on Monday, and nobody noticed it till Wednesday. And the New York Post are the only people talking about it. So here is the interviewer,
Kamala Harris and
Timothy Waltz.
Tell me about that.
That was cool. It came the
How did
same.
that come to? I want to take me
the
to
same way. They emailed me.
They emailed an email from the
DNC.
Okay.
And they said, "Hey, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are really interested in being on your show." I said, "That sounds cool.
Okay.
I'll at least get to tell my daughter that I met the potential president of the United States, or the not president of the United States, which is still cool."
Allahu Akbar, Allah is very Akbar, don't you think? And that's so there's everyone, and he's starting, and he's talking to the Forbes guy, and hey, this is cool. I met the most failed presidential candidate in the history of the world, Kareem Rama.
What happened with Kamala?
Her take was really confusing and weird and not good, and so mutually agreed that we shouldn't publish it.
I see.
And I got lucky because I didn't want to be blamed for her losing.
Her take was that bad?
It was really, really bad, and it was like didn't make any sense. I can tell you, it was bacon as a spice. Bacon as a spice.
Bacon is here's the Muslim guy, and Muslims don't eat pork, so they don't eat bacon, delicious as it is, and it smells so delicious because it is so delicious. And they, what did you stage the whole thing ahead of time to make sure that it was all completely fake and would help the Democrats?
Do you think that was her opinion, or do you think she had like a research group try to figure something that's
research group? Because originally the take that I was pitched was great, and it was that she does not like to take her shoes off on airplanes.
Okay.
And I was like, 100% disagree. You better be taking the shoes off. Yeah, and then at the last minute, I think research group said this makes you look rich and snobby.
Okay.
And you need to appeal to the American people. So she went with the bacon.
These people are very severely mentally ill. These are mental dwarves, and I mean no offense to dwarves anywhere. It was great. He says, yeah, this was great. It was going to be about taking your shoes off on planes. Then another focus group said, no, that makes you sound rich and snobby. So they killed that, and she decided to talk to the Muslim about how bacon is a spice. Meats are not spices. It's low IQ theater.
And I tried to pause the interview and say, trust me, we shouldn't do the bacon thing. And I was overridden by this guy.
Overrided.
Who was maybe her deputy campaign manager or something. Okay. He said, we're doing bacon. I said, all right, we'll do bacon. And then an hour later, I got a call that said, we can't do bacon. I said, I know you can't do bacon. But then I tried to cut it into something else. Okay. It just wasn't working.
Tried to edit it because it's all a hot oil massage, circle fest in a hot tub with the Democrat Party. When your fake media and, you know, who's the ABC reporter that's no longer with them? We've already forgotten about him because they are fluffers for the Democrat Party. They're not journalists. This is all fake. Yeah, Terry Moran, the former Terry Moran. Isn't that amazing? And everybody's already forgot him. And Kareem Rama.
What was Tim Walz's hot take?
His was that the most neglected part of home ownership is the gutters.
Oh, so he's not a gutter guard guy.
He loves gutter guards. I was like, this is a weird take, but he was so passionate about it that I was like, the world deserves to see this. Like, this guy loves gutters.
This is what it's like being a Democrat running for the highest office in the United States of America. This is the third world. We are a third world country. And we have Kareem Rama and we have Mamdani in New York. This is the highest level of the Democrat Party. They're not Americans. They don't have American values. They have MS-13 values. They have Hamas values. They have armed bands of transgender lunatics shooting up ICE detention centers in Texas. The Democrat Party is very, very unwell. And Michael went and found Tim Walz talking to Kareem Rama, and they left this part in.
So what's your take?
My take is the most neglected part of home ownership is the gutters. I see this all the time.
How often do you like looking at gutters?
I look quite often, surprisingly, because I kind of judge it. I try not to be judgmental on people, but when I see a well-tended gutter, it says a lot about somebody.
Yeah, wow. They were almost elected president and vice president of the United States of America, leaders of the free world, and it probably marked the end of the free world. 476 A.D., the fall of the Roman Empire. Truly amazing. Just extraordinary stuff, I've got to say. Man, oh, man. Man, oh, Manischewitz. What would they do to Manischewitz? I think, boxcars and rail spurs, and it'd be the end of the Manischewitz family. I've also got, you remember the Democrat he ran for president for a minute against Joe Biden, a Democrat, former member of the House of Representatives, Dean Phillips. And I've got him talking about Zoran Mamdani. Just amazing. These people, man, I need a little more time for him. But this is he's accidentally telling a truth or two. He didn't mean to. All right now let's go back to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Mike calling from Queens, New York. Michael, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Yeah, good morning, Chris. Thanks for taking my call.
You bet, Mike.
I was calling to say that the Democratic Party, unlike one of their heroes, Leah Thomas, they were rudderless. They're devoid of any kind of an idea. And they've just been reduced to terrorism and tyranny. That's all they have. They got nothing more. They've been using these judges as their tyranny, and they got the morons out in the street as their terrorists. And I think you're absolutely 100% correct. President Trump ought to label them as a terrorist organization.
And I honestly, I'm watching what has happened to the American Democratic Party, and I'm kind of horrified, Mike. I got to say, and in New York, you probably didn't vote for Zoran Mamdani yourself. I don't want to.
That's actually his name. That's Moran Zamdani.
Moran Zamdani?
Yeah.
I like it. That's good.
A moron.
Moran Zamdani.
Well, I don't like to correct you on that, but that's the way I look at him. Moran Zamdani. And any idiot that votes for him is a moron, too.
I like your reference to Leah Thomas, the college swimmer. And you said that, unlike Leah Thomas, the Democrat Party is rudderless. Is that what you said?
That's correct.
That's correct. because Leah Thomas has a rudder while swimming. I'm going to have to think about that, but not for too long, though.
Got to keep it clean on the air, right, Chris?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Michael. Yeah, that's great. Mike, that's funny stuff. That is, yeah, unlike Leah Thomas. Leah Thomas's real name is William Thomas, and William took, because the words L-I-A appear in the word William, in the name William, so William took Leah out of the middle of the word William, and Democrats said, oh, look, the guy with the rudder is a girl now, because the Democrat Party has a lot of trouble. They got a Supreme Court justice who doesn't know what a woman is, and she's a woman. And she keeps screwing up. Boy, does she keep screwing up everything at the Supreme Court. Joe Biden's pick for the Supreme Court is going to go down in history as the biggest joke ever to serve on the United States Supreme Court. Yeah, I wonder what she would say, Ketanji Brown Jackson, about the ruddered William Thomas.
My name is Leah Thomas. I'm a transgender woman, a former college swimmer, and the first trans athlete to be named Division I NCAA champion.
The Democrats. The news media, but I repeat myself. Let us go back to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Gene, calling from the great state of Indiana. Gene, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, old buddy, old pal. Hey, do you remember the financial crisis of 2008 and 9 when they said that, some companies were too big to fail? I think that in a similar way, that's what's happening with this Epstein case. I think it's so big, so huge, so dirty, and I think it's worldwide that I think it would be like an ugly house of cards by the time everything came down. I really do. And that could, when somebody has the goods on you, they have leverage and they have power.
Well, you're 100% right, and I just wanted to let you finish your thought because I think you're right, and I got to say, Gene, that what I'm picking up here is that the U.S. intelligence, what were we calling it yesterday? Not a community, a village, not a commune. Yeah, the intelligence commune. Colonel Tony Schaefer yesterday. The intelligence commune was so far into the Jeffrey Epstein operation, using it up to get dirt on people from all over the world. And if it blew up, it would take down even the U.S. intelligence community.